Hello and welcome back to You Don't Know Her, the mindset podcast all about creating the best life for yourself, one by design, not by default. And today I'm delighted to be joined again by Oscar Fitchett, the local filmmaker from the northeast of England. How are we doing, Oscar?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me back. Yeah.
You're very welcome, you're very welcome. Yeah, so I just wanted to pick up straight away pretty much with where we left off. I mean, we've gone in a million different directions last time we spoke, as we kind of preempted that we thought it was going to go that way.
Always happens with me.
But we mentioned a lot of interesting things, but one thing in particular you mentioned was how much inspiration you drew from The Lighthouse, with that being black and white film, and just, it was so well done, it was so new, and it was kind of, I mean, it did really well in the awards, and the Oscar Awards, I believe, that year, didn't it?
It was nominated for cinematography.
Yeah.
So
it was great to hear that films like that are so different, there's still a place for them and things like that. So, but I wanted to kind of pick up on that one and kind of, just that genre as a whole. Obviously, it's exploring a lot of things, but as a horror, as kind of, would you put it down as a straight horror, or what would you?
You're unraveling so much there. It is a horror. Yes, you want to throw it into post horror, elevated horror. People get snobby about that. Some people get angry about it. It's horror. It's just horror. Psychological horror, I guess you can throw it in. Yeah, it throws into that one. Yeah, definitely.
But that's like psychological horrors and things that are exploring people and how they react to certain situations. That's what I've always been drawn by. I love psychological thrillers. I've spoke previously on the podcast with Martin Rashid about Shutter Island and how phenomenal that is and everything that does around there. But I wanted to look more into horror as a whole and kind of those kind of horrors. And I know we're both big fans of Midsommar and Hereditary as well. So if we can kind of dive in, we'll speak first about Hereditary because it came out first, but as the one scene that everyone knows from that one in the
Which
car,
one are we on? The
car scene. Yeah. I felt that was shocking. That was like really captured an audience. But what did that film do so well that a lot of other films weren't doing or missed the mark with? What do you think that film kind of, and do you think that's had a cultural impact? Do you think things are drawing inspiration from Hereditary?
I do. Yeah. I mean, it's the funny thing because you mentioned about like how Lighthouse. It's so new, so different. The weird thing is though, it's so new and different now, but it's like it's all it did was like, I'm just taking things from way back then, how things used to be done, and doing that. Hereditary did the same thing. You could look at like Rosemary's Baby, which came out 50 years prior to Hereditary. It's like, it's just kind of like the same. They're doing the same kind of thing, really. I think what it did, it's like, well, horror for the longest time. By longest time, I think from like 2000s, really. Look, there was that period of time where like horror just looked at like, it's a schlocky genre, isn't it? It's full of crap, really. And then you had things like, it was like The Conjuring came out and everyone thought, wow, this is great. And it's a horror. I think what Hereditary did was like, it's kept with the horror, but like the story of that isn't a family's being haunted by an evil cult. We're watching a family grieve. I think that's like the main thing, like those kinds of horrors really do, I mean, interest me in that realm. It's the fact of like, I don't know, what do you take away from the film? Do you go like, oh yeah, that really big, spooky, scary scene? Or do you go like, oh shit, Tony Collette and that dinner table scene was absolutely class. And I mean, I think you can do both. You can take, but I think that's another thing, like that film does such a good job in terms of like, performances are class, that when, spoilers for Hereditary, that when she ends up slicing off her head, it's even more impactful. Whereas opposed to like some horror, it's like, we just watch someone that we don't know just die. Okay. Whereas like we're watching this family just go through hell. It's not even like literal hell. There's even like things where it's like family arguments, which as an audience member can just go, oh, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I don't know any ghosts that's happened. You know, I haven't had a paranormal experience. But I've been witness or I've been in family arguments. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we've all had those things with it.
Yeah.
So I think like those kinds of horror highlight more so, I don't know, the fear and anxieties that we have day to day. But then they just sprinkle on top like, oh yeah, now we've got like a ghost and now we've got a vampire or whatever, you know, just like to layer it, I think, really.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm noticing more and more. The best horrors of recent years that always seem to spend the first 20, 30 minutes just establishing almost a non-horror film, just a family dynamic or something which you can relate to and go, okay, and now you're on board with it, and then it hits you where it hurts with like supernatural element
literally Hereditary opens with like we're in a funeral.
Yeah.
and then nothing really horrifying happens until there's hints. There's like the ghost of her dead mum kind of in the corner in the shadows. But then there's like until the daughter gets her head like knocked off. That's the first like that's like grim.
Yeah, and that scene, obviously it's a split second. It happens. But
So good.
The thing about it is, then it's when the camera pans to the driver of the car and it's focusing on his face for the rest of the scene, and it's just without saying anything, just the reaction. It's like it says so much, doesn't it? And that's what captures people because it's true, it's real, it's emotional.
Yeah, they do the thing where they go into Alex Wolff's POV slightly, where it's like you see the camera moving to see the rear view mirror, then snaps back just before he sees the headless body. It's again, and you're like, oh no. Yeah. You heard the thud. Yeah. Feels the image in your head. It's just great horror filmmaking. Yeah. It's just amazing stuff.
Yeah. So what's the link between Hereditary and Midsommar? Is there a link?
Same director.
Oh, is that? I thought there was that.
Right, director. Ari Aster. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's again, I think Midsommar for me personally, I probably enjoyed that more. I think it took it to the next level again. I think so. Yeah. And the cast was great in that one. Is it Will Poulter?
Will Poulter's in it. Yeah. Florence Pugh is the lead. Yeah.
It just, again, it's so bizarre as a film as the actual what's happening with it. But again, it's established by a true thing of people are going to this bizarre place.
Yeah. But again, if you think about it, again, it's another example of like, it's a Swedish cult thing, but how does the film open? Her parents die, and she's trying, and it's also like this really like twisted breakup story that just so happens to have a Swedish cult in it. Like, Danny, the lead character, isn't being distressed because of like this activity that this Swedish cult is happening. More often than not, she's getting distressed because memories of her dead family are popping up, or like her boyfriend's being an absolute dickhead or anything like that. So it's like just such a great mixture of all that stuff. Yeah, no, that was a film that like Hereditary was a slow burn for me in terms of my appreciation and love for it. I remember watching it for the first time and being like, okay, I like it. It wasn't until it was one of my case studies in my dissertation. I was like, oh, I love this film. Where Midsommar watched it first time, I was like, that was just brilliant. Raw, I think is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. And I'm assuming you went into Midsommar knowing the Ari Aster thing, and so that's possibly the reason that you're so kind of already there. You're already kind of sold, aren't you? So it's about having that knowledge, and I don't know if it's he's the director's more well known, and it's that kind of thing, and it's going to help the production and the budget and everything.
I would say so. I agree.
So it's connections that way, but there's loads of great examples of recent horrors. I mean, one that really I've not actually got around to watching the follow up yet, but Smile is one that I thought was.
Smile 2 is better.
Is it? Yeah.
I didn't really like the first one.
Oh really?
Yeah, but the second one.
Yeah, nails it.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, and again, it's just such a simple idea. But the thing that sold me on the first one was the sort of the main girl from the poster, I think, and from all the trailers. It was such a weird smile. It just did so much in just one image, and
it's iconic.
Yeah.
It's already, people know it.
Yeah.
You think the film Smile, you have that sight. It's the same thing if I say Exorcist. You probably think of the Linda Blair. Forgot her name in it. That one.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing. You say Smile, even though I don't love that film. It's it's cemented itself in terms of iconic horror imagery, I think.
Which is what horrors are setting out to do, isn't it? It's horror's the one genre where it can do so much with so little, really. Such a small idea. Yeah. I mean, the big ones for me is probably Saw, what Saw did, where it was a small indie project to start with, one room, and then it develops into this whole massive franchise. And it's really revolutionised the industry, hasn't it?
Blair Witch Project's another big one.
Yeah.
It's just, 3 people in the with a crappy camcorder or whatever in the woods.
Yeah.
And it made so much money.
Yeah.
It made so much money. And I think it's really effective. I really think that one's really cool and effective, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. So I don't know if you've kind of noticed the trend that horror, for me, it was always something like going to the cinemas at Halloween and going in October, but now any time of the year you can go and see a horror in the cinemas pretty much. There's always something there for you.
I agree, yeah.
And on the streaming services, I know Amazon Studios kind of churn out quite a few horrors all at once. Yeah. They'll drop a few just onto the platform. Is that kind of speaking to the... Do you think that's a monetary thing? Do you think it's them going, right, we can make this film for such low budget and it could become massive?
I mean, yeah, all bets are off, really. Like, what have you got to lose at that point, really? Especially in the world where we've got $200 of millions budget superhero films that, for a while were guaranteed $1 billion films, and I mean, post-pandemic, it's not quite been that. But even like, I think you look at this year, it's been a great year for horror, especially like what excites me. It's like, and they all really did financially well, like Longlegs, which I loved. Don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
But like that did super well. I think it was like the #1 in the box office, like each, like for like 3 weeks in that point. And even like stuff like The Substance, which is brilliant. It's amazing stuff. And I'm really excited because and surprisingly, it's getting award hype as well. So it's like, all right, cool. And that, well, but there's another one that, but either way, Terrifier 3, that's the one that I was thinking of. Especially with Terrifier 3, I think like the budget for that wasn't even, it's in the single millions of dollars. Right, okay. It's not even like tens of millions or something like that. And it's like, I know, it made more than Joker 2.
Wow. Yeah,
so Art won the Clown War in that realm. But it's like, I think, because again, what have you got to lose? And people like horror. And usually, you get some major studios that get worried, like, oh, you might be going too far. The Substance is a good example. It's like Universal originally had the distribution rights to that. And it's a mad body horror film. And apparently they're like, maybe like, settle down a bit, and the director was like, no. And they're like, oh, right, well, we're not distributing it. So then Mubi, which is more an independent studio, picked it up and did a wide distribution. Right. And then it did really well financially, and it's doing really well critically, awards as well. So, I mean, more often than not, like, you can push the boat, and it's usually fine. Yeah. You don't need to worry about it, because what do we come to horror for? Yeah. To feel, if I'm being honest. Feel
emotion. Well, and you mentioned Longlegs. That was the thing that got me to go to the cinemas, was seeing the trailer for, it's Michael Monroe, isn't it? Yeah. Seeing the trailer, I don't know if you saw it, where you can hear her heartbeat. Yeah.
I heard about it.
Just from what she saw, like just from seeing Nicolas Cage and
I feel like it's a bit of a stretch. It's a bit of a marketing ploy.
I know.
I don't completely doubt that didn't happen, but also the fact of like she walked on and then she had like this like I was like
you do wonder, I mean, they all are actors, can they act?
But it's also part of like the fun myth behind it, like have you heard about like The Exorcist caused heart attacks and people passed out? Did they? I don't know. I wasn't around in 1973, so I can't
verify it.
I can't verify that. But like even like Terrifier 3 got like reports about there was mass walkouts, there was vomits everywhere. And saying, all right, was there? But also it gives a bit more hype, doesn't it, to the film? Yeah. It brings more of a bigger life to it as opposed to just like that looks scary.
Yeah. I think hearing things like that is. For me, I mean, Twisters, the recent Twisters one. With the thing was doing it in 4DX, everyone was going wild, and it was. I didn't get a chance to see it in 4DX.
No, neither did I. No.
But I heard, I heard it was quite a wild time. But
I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I hope that they did bring it back in actually, because of all the hype from social media. They brought it back, and I still missed my chance. But that's the thing. Like certain films and certain things that can. Whatever it is, good or bad, if it gets that kind of reaction out of you, or whatever it is, if it's horror, if it's any other genre, it's done its job, I think. So
I agree.
Yeah, and I was actually watched a really good film, Alien Romulus.
Oh, class!
Yeah, phenomenal.
Big fan. Yeah.
But I was in the cinemas watching this film, and we were all kind of like stunned into silence, about how. Captivating the ending was. Apart from this one guy who was sat in front of me, who throughout the entire film, as soon as the opening credits came on, Alien Romulus, right? Yeah. he stands up and he puts his coat on, and then like he like shuffles out, and I just go to the person, I'm like, oh, is he in the wrong theatre? Is he going the wrong? And he goes out, and then he comes back, and it's at where they're serving alcohol at the cinema, so he comes back with a big pint glass, and then I thought he couldn't have done that in the trailer, like building up to it. He had to wait for this film, but he sits back down, and the film carries on, and again an hour later, I'm stood up, coat on, bag over, and then like leans into the people next to him. I'm like, what's going on here now? And then goes back, comes back, another pint glass. He's got another pint glass. I'm like, he's having a great time here, this guy. And then gets to the end of the film, and I think I'm just forgot all about this guy. But gets to the end of the film, and I'm there thinking, wow, that was such a great film. And a guy in the corner just like gives it one clap, and then he was like, oh, that's not fair enough. You know, I've not really seen much of people clap at a film, but he clapped it, and then the guy who stood up and left twice, he turned around to me and went, oh, that was rubbish, that. I was thinking, no wonder.
But he saw it. What are you on about?
Yeah, he's been looking. Yeah, he's been at the queue for half of it, and he's been looking at his probably pint for the other half. So, yeah, but that's there's so many examples of that. Another good one was Shazam. You talk about superhero films.
Yeah.
That was one I enjoyed, but this guy, I was really enjoying it. I thought it was the best scene of the film. This guy in front stands up, puts his coat on, and turns away, and he's like blocking my view of the screen, and he's like, and then he leaves and doesn't come back, and I think that's so strange.
I've had weird, like, not quite to the extent, but there's been times where I've just saw someone like get up at like there's 10 minutes left. And I just finished the film. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You spent this long. Yeah. Just finish it.
I know. You've committed this long. Just to say you've done something. Just to say
I'm always of the opinion. If I'm watching a film, I'm sticking out through the whole thing, even if I don't like it. Yeah. I'm just like, fucking. Yeah. Even if I'm really hating it, I'm fucking sticking through it. Like if we're talking about horror, I watched like the remake of Black Christmas.
Yeah.
First one, favorite horror film of all time. I was really excited for this one because the year before the same studio did the Halloween film. And I liked that one. I was like, okay, cool. And they announced they're going to do it for Black Christmas. I was like, fucking class. No one knows Black Christmas. I'm like the only bastard that knows this. I can't wait for this to be like, coming back into like the fun, horror discussion of it. And I'm sat, and it's just the shittest film I've seen. Which is one of the worst. Like I felt it like within the first act. I was like, this is horrible. And in my head, I'm like, I want to walk out, but I'm not going to because I want the opinion. I want to know that it's bad. I don't want to just be like, well, this is crap, I'm leaving. And then I hear it, I need the opinion.
Yeah.
But I was like that. It was, again, the cinema is sacred to me. Yeah. Put your fucking phone away. Yeah. Shut up. Yeah. Watch it. You can spend 2-3 hours without your device. You can do it. But watching Black Christmas, I was seeing myself, because I was in the middle of the row, I'm like, if there wasn't people behind me, I would be that person now just doing that because of how much I was really like, if a film makes me want to get my phone out in the cinema, that's like, maybe this is like the worst thing I've seen.
Yeah, because the whole point of cinema is, I think anyway, you go in there because you want a bit of escapism, you want to just be in a bit different setting, different environment.
It's my favourite place, man.
If it takes you out of it, like, and you just want to check your phone, it's not.
I've seen bad films, but like very few films have made me want to go like, completely just disregard the whole like ethics of cinema. Of a cinema. No.
It's horrible to hear when you're such a fan of something as well, and it's done that. I mean, the big one that a filmmaker I like is Chris Stuckman. He's a YouTuber.
I love Stuckman.
Get Stuckman out and all that sort of thing. But he talks about his hatred for Dragon Ball Evolution.
God, it's so bad.
Yeah, because he said he just loved Dragon Ball so much growing up, and then. Yeah, the film's just ruined everything.
It's not good. Have you seen it?
I've not, because of him. I can't bring myself to watch it out of respect to him.
I've seen clips and it's hilarious in clips.
Yeah.
As an entirety thing, it's just a nightmare.
Yeah,
it's just a nightmare. I had that with The Last Airbender because the show's like, I love the show, and then like, and again, I like M. Night Shyamalan. I'm actually a bit of an M. Night Shyamalan defender for the most part, but then it's like. God, that film was just absolute dog shit. Yeah. It was just like they tried to cram all of the first season, but just missed the whole point of. They just took all void of enjoyment. Like there was no like lightheartedness behind it, and it was just so flat. It's so bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
It's a really, really, really weird get for anything to be made like that. But I think the whole overarching thing is just what film can do rather than those elements. Though I mean, I call it. Someone I know calls it being entranced. The entrance to a cinema is getting entranced, and then you're there with your popcorn and you're just like shoveling it in before you even know it's gone and all that sort of thing. And that's what cinema can do.
I love taking out a mortgage to get a large popcorn.
I used to work at the cinemas, and I felt horrible charging some of those prices.
I did it this summer. I was like, you know what? Sometimes I just feel the need. Like, I'm going to get a large popcorn with some Rebels and a big ass drink. And people are like, you do know you could just get it cheap. I'm like, yeah, I know, but there's something fun about like going and getting that specific salted popcorn from the cinema, that specific one, and paying that specific amount of like money for it. It's like, you know what? I'm paying for the whole enjoyment of this moment. Yeah. It's like, but it doesn't taste that great. I don't care. It tastes fine to me, and I'm watching a good ass film while I'm doing it. I also feel like, I know it's a bit of a right turn. You need to be very specific with what film you're taking popcorn in. I think, Long Legs, great. It's a great popcorn film. I feel like if you're going into like something like Schindler's List with like, it's just, I don't know, man. Read the room. Yeah.
Well, I can't believe we're there
on that note.
On that note, on Schindler's List and popcorn, but it's a great thought. It is a great thought, but same question as last time. Oscar, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Oscar Fitchett. Anything else, that's basically where I'm linked. My link tree is linked in my Instagram, so if anyone wants to see anything else from me, it's there. But at Oscar Fitchett.
Amazing. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, man.
Cheers. Take care.